We've got the pride of Princeton from the great state of New Jersey with us, and Roberto Abramowitz is back. We've also got Kicking It Around today on NYCFC Views.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. NYCFC Views.
Collins approaches the shot, and New York City wins the first MLS Cup on their first try, and they're going crazy. Tiene el tiro y gol! Gol! New York City es el campeón de Major League Soccer.
The sickest New York City FC podcast. It's gonna be sick.
Well, welcome back, everyone. I'm Glenn Crooks, radio commentator for New York City FC. Happy New Year. Hope you had a great holiday. We took the week off. And the last couple of shows, Roberto Abramowitz has been absent because he underwent quadruple bypass surgery not that long ago. But he's looking good. He's fit. And he said, I'm ready to come back. So where is he? I know Roberto's here. And hey, man. You look great, Roberto. Welcome back, man.
I don't know about that. I feel like I've aged about 30 years. But aside from that, I mean, I'm feeling really well. Things have changed. They change weekly. So, yeah, I had a heart attack on November 15th. And I didn't know that I was having a heart attack. And I took myself to the hospital because I wasn't feeling well. My whole chest was hurting. It was first hurting up here. And then I ate something. And then everything else started to hurt. And it just felt really weird. And I was like, yeah, I shouldn't just ignore this. And after a few hours of putting up with it, I took myself to New York Presbyterian. And while I was there in the emergency room, and I was really lucky that the emergency room was empty, they took me right in. And within 5 minutes, they were doing electrocardiograms and working me up. And like about 20 minutes later, they came in and they're saying, we suggest you stay here. And so I wound up staying in the hospital. They tried to do a stent replacement because or a stent operation because I had major blockage in 3 different arteries, 70, 80, and 90%. And they tried to do that. And I went through the operation and they said, nope, no good. We can't do anything. So you need a bypass. And a few days later, I had a quadruple bypass. So that was on the 20th. That was 5 days after I went into the hospital. And then by the 25th, I was let free. And free to roam around the city. So, and little by little, I've been getting better. The changes, you know, between how I feel, you can't really feel them daily, but week to week, you really feel the difference. So like in the first week, I could barely walk to the bathroom. In the second week, I could walk down the block, but I needed help walking back up the block. You know, by the third week, I could handle that on my own. And now we're in week 6, almost week 7, and I think somewhere around week 4, week 5, I really felt like I turned the corner and I started to feel more normal, and things have been working out okay, and little by little coming back, and it's a 6-week to 2-month process between, you know, feeling better. But while I was doing all this and getting my heart, all better and everything.
You watched a lot of soccer. I mean, we have this group text and I'm thinking to myself, my gosh, Roberto's watching more soccer than he ever has in his life because he can't get out of the house. He's just watching games.
It's hard. Good, I'm taking like so many meds and like some of them make me dizzy. Some of them make me, you know, dehydrated. So like I'm drinking water like absolutely crazy. I'm drinking
I hope you get back
over a quart of water every day, if not more. And
that's good for you.
Yeah, I know. But I'm doing fine. I'm doing okay. I'm ready to do this. I'm ready to come back to do the New York City FC radio in Spanish. I did not forget my Spanish with a heart operation. So that's all good. And I'm ready to rock and roll. I'm happy to be back here doing this with you.
All right. Well, and great to have you back. And while all this was going on, you probably weren't able to properly celebrate a contract extension within the club. And this guy
got one? Oh, that's so cool.
Kevin O'Toole. Yeah, not me, not you or me. No.
Oh.
the guy who plays on the left side of defense, gets into the attack on occasion, and Kevin O'Toole. So we are fortunate enough to have Kevin join us here on NYCFC Views. Happy New Year, Kevin. How are you?
Happy New Year, guys. I'm good. Roberto, great to have you back, and you look great, and glad to hear you're recovering well. So I'm glad you're here with us, too.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here as well. Trust me, because that was one of the options of not being here in 2024, and I'm not talking about the podcast either.
That's on that note.
Hey, I'm happy that I'm here. What can I tell you?
No, it's true. So, well, congratulations, first of all, Kevin, on the extension. It's officially through 25 and an option in 2026. So when you think about, you got drafted in 22 and, you look back and, how it all started, it took you a while, Campeones Cup, in fact, which was in September, I think, before you actually, made your mark, but it certainly has paid off.
Yeah, no, that's right. Yeah, it did take a while in that first year. And so I guess reflecting on that, I feel, very fortunate, less than a year, or I guess a little over a year after that, to be in the position I am now and being extended with the club. So yeah, a lot definitely happened in the span of a year, and I'm just very thankful that it did and excited for the next few.
Yeah.
You came to the team as a forward, and yet now you're playing, well, first wing back, and now in a formation of 4, you literally are playing defense and going forward. How has the adjustment been from going to forward and defense? And what have you been able to apply as a defender, knowing how to play forward?
Yeah, I think the modern game, you have to kind of be an attacking player wherever you play on the pitch, besides maybe center back or goalkeeper. And so I think transitioning into left back, I had some experience playing there growing up. In my academy days, I was playing 2 or 3 years as a left back. So I kind of had that in my back pocket, knowing a little bit about how to play the position, when to take your moments moving forward, and when to kind of sit in that back line and defend. So I think I had good experience playing as a left back there. And then I think going into college and learning more about the attacking side of the game really equipped me well to be kind of an attacking fullback in the MLS. So I think it was really important developing my attacking game in my 4 years at Princeton, and then I could fall back on some of the stuff that I learned in the academy as a left back as well.
All right. Let's go back to your earlier days. So you've got 2 Jersey boys here and one New Yorker. So great to have you. Montclair, New Jersey native, went to Montclair High School, and then formerly with the Red Bulls Academy, which is kind of interesting that you morphed from there into New York City. But what club did you start in? Was it Montclair? Yeah,
I started at Montclair United, and that was my first year with Montclair United was my U8 season, so 8 years old. And I played a couple years at Montclair United, and then that team kind of merged into SDFC, which is short for Soccer Domain Football Club. It was kind of like a group started by Ashley Hammond, who's kind of like the soccer guy in Montclair. And so Montclair United shifted over to there. I was with SDFC until I was 14 or 15, and then made the jump to the Red Bull Academy system.
I didn't know you played for Ashley Hammond, and I've been in that little bubble that he built many times.
Yeah, I grew up playing in that bubble. That was where it all started. So I was there. My first coach with Montclair United was a guy named Ali Bain, and then after him, I had Kieran Patrick for probably like 8 years. He was also kind of like my camp counselor when I was going to kids summer camps growing up. So I had Kieran for almost like 10 to 15 years of my development, which was amazing. And then that was my time with SDFC.
Good. Well, let's
notice how excited Glenn gets every time he mentions anything New Jersey. It's sort of like Montclair, and he gets like so excited that he can mention something New Jersey. We New Yorkers, we don't have to do that.
New Jersey, Roberto, it's the 6 degrees of soccer. Anything you talk about, in soccer, it comes back to Jersey. You mention any name, anything, and I'll bring it back.
That is true. I will absolutely give you that. Well, what are the differences as you came up through the Red Bull Academy? And I know that obviously you came and basically just fit into the first team in New York City. But what are the major differences between both places from an insider that you can give us?
Sure. I think in the academy at Red Bull, I think a lot of the focus in my early days there was kind of a possession style and just playing a lot of small-sided games in training and playing a lot of possession-oriented games. And then I think as you grew up in that system, it became more important to kind of emulate the first team style of play. And so there was definitely a focus on the high press style, getting fullbacks into the attack, playing very direct. And that's sort of when it evolved. I would say after my first year of U16, I played 2 years of U18. And once I was into the U18 team, it was kind of about kind of developing that first team style of play in the academy. So yeah, like I said, direct wingers, fullbacks overlapping, high press. So that was kind of the progression there. And then obviously in the first team in NYCFC, we have a very clear style of moving the ball, keeping possession, being direct when necessary, and I think also applying some of that high press as well.
I wanted to ask you, so your next step was Rutgers, but Princeton. I'm sorry, that was a
wrong Jersey school.
A major faux pas. I'm sorry. I was at Rutgers, you were at Princeton. When you play Red Bull, now, how many of the guys on the other side, when you're playing in this derby, did you play within the academy?
Yeah, there was a few of them. I think last year, the only one that I was really playing with consistently in the academy was Omir Fernandez. Obviously, this offseason, he's moved on to Colorado Rapids. So he was kind of the only academy guy that I'd played with. But I was also in the Red Bull second team system while I was in high school. And so Ryan Mara, who's the goalie over at Red Bull, was my goalie on the second team. And then guys who have moved on since then, like obviously Tyler Adams, I played with on the second team there, Aaron Long, Derek Etienne. So like a lot of these guys that are still around the MLS and have moved beyond it are some guys that I played with there.
Did you play for Manfred Schellscheid at all?
Yes, I did.
Oh.
I did. Yeah, Manny was around the academy, and he joined in a session or two here and there.
Yeah, that's right.
That doesn't. Manny's everywhere, isn't he? I mean, if you play soccer in Jersey, at some point you have to go through Manny, don't you?
Yes, it's a rite of passage.
It is. It is. Well, Roberto, Princeton. When I hear about these Ivy Leagues and these guys can manage their academics and the athletic side, I have to tell you, Kevin, what was it like? I remember when I coached at Rutgers, we would on the women's side, we would play Princeton. One year we played them, and they just looked, ragged. They just weren't up to speed. It was like I was really intrigued. I think it was Julie Shackford told me afterwards. To go, yeah, it's midterms week. He said they've been up all night studying for like the last 2 weeks. I said, all right, well, we'll have to schedule. We have to always schedule during midterms week. Did it go that way for you as well?
Somewhat, I would say. I think my freshman year, I was kind of intimidated by the academics. And so I was putting in hours late at night when I shouldn't have been before important games. And once I realized that I did not have to be doing that, especially not before games, I think that's when it got better. But yeah, there's definitely, I think also part of that is that the Ivy Leagues have a very short preseason compared to the rest of the country. And so we always enter the season with only 2 weeks of preparation and one scrimmage before our first match. And most other teams have played 3 or 4 scrimmages and have been training for 4 to 6 weeks before.
That's right.
And so we always get a bit of a later start. And in my 4 years there, we always got off to really slow starts. Like we never won the opening game of our season ever in our 4 years there. And we usually started the season like maybe 1 win from our first 5, but then we'd go on like 10 win runs to end the season. And so it was just very clearly just like a little bit late in this like seasonal development. And I think that was also part of it on top of the studying.
Well, as long as you had to win your Ivy matches because and this year, because the regular season champion was the one that went through, but this year they had a tournament. You're aware of that, right? They had for the first time ever, Ivy's had a post-season tournament.
That's right. Yeah. It worked. So when I was there, we ended up winning 2 Ivy League titles, and I think the other 2 seasons we were out of the top 4. So we, like, at least in my time there, we got really lucky in that it really favored us to have no tournament because we ended up on top 2 of those years, and then the other 2 years we wouldn't even have qualified through the tournament anyway. So I'm a proponent of the non-tournament kind of style, but that's only really because it worked out in our favor.
I get that. Absolutely. I get that. Hey, going into this season, is preparation any different than it has been for the other 2 seasons that you've been here, and especially because of how last season ended and there was no postseason for New York City FC?
Yeah, I think after the Chicago game, which ended our season, and then leading into the Noche d'Or Miami game, we had a few weeks of really intense training leading up to that Miami game. And then there was an optional week of training after that as well. And I think that was kind of new, partially because the season ended towards the end of October, and we had this time that we could use to train. But also because of the way the season went, we didn't want to just, pack up our bags and everyone go off to where they came from. So I think that was a really important period for us to kind of regroup as a team and kind of refocus our goals for the next season, and just like get a really strong output from everyone in the team and like a really great buy-in. And I think that'll be a really good foundation for going into next into this preseason in just a few short days now. And I can speak for myself and a few other guys that I know who have been doing stuff in the off season. I feel super motivated to have a really strong preseason and to make sure, we don't have any early season lapses and get results on the board early on. And so that's kind of where I've been focusing my energy and making sure I'm coming in super fit and really strong to get the year going.
So for the past 2 seasons, you've started off basically on the bench and then you won the position. Do you feel that this year, this is your position to lose going into the next season?
Yeah, I think so. And I kind of felt like that last year as well. And obviously there's off-season moves that get made. And so you never really know the full squad until maybe March. But yeah, I definitely have that perspective going into this year. I think it's kind of my turn to own the spot and make sure that I don't let it slip in preseason. And I'm going to go in and work like, the spot isn't granted to me, because that's the way I know how to make it stick. And so that'll be kind of my approach to it in preseason. And yeah, I can't wait to get going.
Yeah, I don't think the club would have signed into that extension had they felt otherwise. But I have it in front of me. I want to go over like what it's been like for you. So you get drafted in 22. You literally don't play. You played in the U.S. Open Cup against Rochester, but otherwise you don't play until the Campeones Cup final, which what a great 2-0 win over Atlas, and get to celebrate that. Then you play the next 6 games through the playoffs, start every game. Then 2023, last year, you played 35 minutes in the first 7 matches and did not play in 4 of those matches. Then you started 5 of the next 6. Then you didn't start in any of the next 5. Then you had a string of 12 matches where you only got 3 starts. And on September 20th, you played an MLS Next Pro match for 90 minutes, which, could seem like a demotion, but I'm sure it was more like, keep your fitness. And then you started the last 5 matches to close out the regular season. So it's really been, why do you think it's gone that way? Do you sense that you weren't as consistent as you would like to be?
I'm not entirely sure. I felt like I was, training well over the course of the season, especially in that in preseason and beginning part of the season. I thought I was really hitting my stride and felt like I was in really good form. And then obviously we brought in Brian Cooper, and he's a great player, and he earned his minutes as well. And so yeah, it was just a roller coaster of a season in terms of that position. It was like Brian was in, and then I was in, and then he was in again, and I was back in. And so I think it just the way it shook out with what the timing of our results throughout the year and who was kind of hitting form. And so I don't view it as, I wasn't performing in this part of the season or that part of the season. I just view it as more a reaction to what was happening in terms of the team's results. And, I live with that, and I look forward to hopefully being more consistent next year in my playing time.
But Roberto, just to follow up, it's like,
okay.
those are, it's so hard to remain confident and also trust that the coach believes in you sometimes when you're either inconsistently playing or not playing at all. And I wonder, I can appreciate any athlete who maintains a level of, working hard at it, not getting down. And, did you encounter those sorts of things? And if so, how do you overcome that stuff?
Yeah, of course. I think that's probably the hardest part of the game at the professional level. It's something that I think everyone before they turn pro never really encounters in their youth career, because they're always seen as kind of the guy on their team if they end up in the pro ranks. And so once you turn pro, like nothing's ever granted to you. And I think that was a big part of the mental challenge in my first year, and maybe why I didn't play for so long, was because I had to find my own ways to stay consistent and even keeled. And I kind of just fell back on working extremely hard in training and just being a super high output guy, because that's, at the end of the day, the one thing you can control is your work ethic. And so I think that's what helped me in that first season. And it's something that I try to fall back on if things aren't going my way in terms of playing time on the field. So it's definitely a challenge.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't know you hadn't finished. Finish up.
Oh no, I was just going to say it is a challenging part of the game, but I think over the last couple of years, I've learned some of the ways to get around it.
So I have basically a two-pronged question based on the same thing. When you speak with Nick and the other coaches, and maybe through an exit interview more than anything else at the end of the season, what are the areas that, or did you have a conversation with Nick or the coaches about what are the areas that they believe that you need to improve on to become a next level player? And then on the other hand, what are the areas that you believe, that you need to improve on to become a next level player, an entrenched starter, and somebody becoming even better than you are at this point?
Yeah, one of the things that the coaches highlighted in the beginning of the season, for sure, when I was transitioning from a left wing back into the left back role, was kind of developing my defensive ability, especially in the one-on-one areas. That was something they wanted to see me develop before kind of getting, significant minutes in the season. And I think that's something I improved a lot at in training and in the minutes that I was given early in the season. So from a defensive perspective, that's something that, I'm going to continue to build on and work hard at, because in a four-back, it's more important to be a defensive-minded player than it is as a wing-back. And I think personally, some of the things that I want to work on, I think getting up and down the pitch is like one of my biggest strengths, and I can, overlap our wingers and get crosses in the box. And I think I get a lot of good service in the box, but I definitely want to add to that and getting better crossing positions and picking out guys and making sure I'm getting lots of assists next season as well. I think that's where outside backs are really contributing these days in getting the ball in the box and getting assists on the board. So that's something that I want to develop at as well.
One thing that stood out to me that your first year, when you finally started getting some time, I was talking to Nick, and the one thing he loves anybody that just wants to talk football, and he put you in a category on a high level of just wanting to talk about the game and watch film and this and that. So is that the way you've always approached the game? And how much can you watch to help yourself improve? I mean, what's the level of what you watch of yourself to get better?
Yeah, I'm definitely one of those guys who comes home after training and watches all the training footage, just to pick up like little things about positioning, about, the way you look on the ball, like positioning defensively. So that's something I've just kind of created a habit of, is when I get home from training, just watching the film over. And then also every game that I'm in, I'm watching, just to pick up little things and try to make little adjustments to my game and positioning. And then one of the luxuries of, having the schedule that we do is that we do have, time on weekends and also in the afternoons when the Champions League is on to watch European matches. And that's something I've also made a routine just because I love the game and I love watching it. But it is good to learn from some of the best in my position. So I made that a habit as well.
Who do you favor watching, or who's your team? And you don't have to say Manchester City. You don't have to, okay?
I do like Arsenal, and I love watching Zinchenko. He plays the left back position a bit differently than we play it. We sometimes go with pull the outside back inside and play him kind of as a pivot 6, but I just love his kind of calmness on the ball and the way he approaches the game in the attacking third. He's a guy that kind of makes killer passes, but also simplifies it and sees his job as just giving the ball to the wingers and letting them do their thing. And so I think we've got, super quality wingers on our team. And I think if I can add that to my game and just, getting whoever's playing on the left, whether it's Tales or Andres or Julian on the ball as much as I can, then I've done my job as well.
In the past couple of years, you've played with Alexander Callens, then Maxime Chanot, and then finished the season with Burke Risa. Is there any differences of playing with each of these players on how you approach your game?
Yeah, when I was playing with Kyans, he was kind of the first center back that I stepped on the field with in an NYCFC kit, and he was just, I think, the best guy that I could have played next to in that first year. He was always in my ear and encouraging and positive and just giving me really good energy throughout all my games and kind of making me feel a sense of calmness while I was on the field with him, because I knew that he would cover anything behind me and he was always gonna, give me the ball in a good spot. So he was, I think I owe a lot of my success in that first year just to playing beside him, because he was such a great influence and leader on the field for me. And then Maxime obviously is a club legend, and he was always eager to give little bits of advice to some of the young guys off the field. And he also just kind of instilled a load of confidence in me, and that he kind of told me before that first Campeones Cup game that, your situation can only get better from starting in this game. You're coming from not having played a single minute and you're entering a really big game, and if it goes well, then you're going to kind of kickstart your career. And so that was kind of what his message to me before the game, and I definitely valued that. And then Burke is a guy who came in towards the end of the season, but was a big voice in the locker room basically from day one. He has a load of experience playing in Europe, but also is just a very easygoing guy who connects with players super well, and we've developed a great relationship, and I think that helps our partnership on the field. We're both really excited to be playing with each other and getting opportunities together on the field, and so I think that's kind of been a big boost in the way that we kind of connect with each other on the pitch.
Awesome, man. Well, Roberto, got anything else? We got to let this guy go. He's got some film to watch.
I'm sure he does. Arsenal doesn't play today, I don't think.
No,
right?
I don't think. Not today.
Okay, good. Well, we'll have to talk about the Arsenal Spurs little rivalry that's going on. I heard it's a big deal.
It is a bit of a big deal, isn't it?
Well, what is there any Princeton Yale stuff going on between you and Andres Jason? Do you guys have little competitions or anything? So who's the Ivy League champion?
Yeah, there was for the match this year, Princeton versus Yale, we had this kind of inside bet that if Princeton won, that Andres had to repost Princeton's game-winning post on his Instagram story, and if Yale won, I had to repost Yale's. And I'm pretty sure the game ended in a tie, so there was a bit of an impasse there. We didn't have to do anything. We'll see if it comes around next year too. I really don't want to do that, but I think it's kind of a fun bet to have. So
yeah, you'll have to carry that one over for sure.
Yeah.
Well, Kevin, congratulations again on the new contract, and good luck as preseason gets underway shortly, and all the best to you.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was great being on. Take care, guys.
All right, Ben.
Take care. Thank you so much, and the best of luck to you. Well, that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, he's a good guy, and good guys. You hope that things go well, and it's. I mean, that contract. What a huge statement, and sure his parents are delighted, that he's staying home. And really, really nice story, and great to have Kevin. You remember Stephen Turnbull? I know you do. I've kind of stayed in touch with him because I was wondering
Same
where
here.
he might go. So he signed with Rhode Island. That's that new USL championship team, the one that Michael Parkhurst, the former MLS defender, bit of a legendary figure. He's one of the co-owners. So Stephen will be playing in the USL championship this year, which is excellent. Micha Ilinic. So shout out to Hudson River Blue. They posted that he got selected for his first full team call up for Serbia, and they're playing the US on January. Is it January 20th? Yeah, January 20th
in San Antonio.
Yeah, so wonderful there. And then I saw New York City post today on their Twitter that today is the anniversary of him signing his first contract with New York City.
That is really cool. And let's see what else is going on. There's a million MLS transactions that happen, and we'll go through a couple of them because some of them are interesting. One that just happened today is Nicolas Lodeiro signed with Orlando City. So that had been rumored to be going on, and now it's been official. So he leaves Seattle, who's basically cleaning house, and went to Orlando. Demir Kralak, also ex-Seattle now, signed with Vancouver for a lot less money that he was making in Orlando. So, rather in Seattle. But so he stays in Cascadia. But that's an important, I like Vancouver. They're fun to watch. They really are.
They're fun to watch, and they have a fun coach in Vanni Sartini. And why don't we officially do this? Let's cover the rest of this by kicking it around. What do you say?
Let's go.
Well, I think the biggest one of these, there's been a lot of news, and there's some that's still reported on. Tom Bogert, another Jersey guy, by the way, is doing an unbelievable job, putting things out to keep us posted during this time of year when all these things are happening, all this movement. But I think Miles Robinson to FC Cincinnati, I don't know. I was startled by that one. Maybe there was a rumor out there. I don't know. Maybe there were reports. I don't remember. I was kind of out of it during the vacation period a little bit. I wasn't as in touch. But so Miles Robinson and Matt Miazga, the two central defenders, and Miazga, in his more natural right center position with Miles Robinson next to him. But that's FC Cincinnati Supporter Shield winners. Boy, they really tagged on there.
They did. By the way, I just got information just now as we're doing this. New York City has made a trade. How about that? Alfredo Morales got traded to San Jose. So Alfredo Morales wasn't in the picture for next season for New York City, and they traded him for a third-round pick in the 2026 MLS Super Draft. So Morales was still looking for a place to play. I guess he wanted to stay here in the States, and he wasn't in the New York City FC picture. And now it's announced that he got traded to San Jose. So we wish Alfredo all the best out in San Jose. It's going to be harder for his father now to follow his games because his father lives in Berlin, and he used to listen to our broadcast all the time in Spanish over there in Berlin. But, there's a 6-hour difference between New York City and Berlin. Now it's 9 hours. So good luck, Gallo, listening to games of Alfredo.
Well, the thing about that's going to be nice. I'm sure he'll figure it out. But the thing I most remember about Alfredo, and it's too bad he had some injuries that really curtailed his performances at times. But during that MLS Cup run, in the playoffs, he played all but 1 minute in the playoffs. And I just remember him being such an important factor. And, his time spent at New York City as a leader as well, during a period of time when it seemed like the entire leadership left. Guys like Sean Johnson, Anton Tinnerholm, Tati Castellanos. and then Maxime Chenot, and Alfredo was certainly he was a voice of reason, and we both had a chance to talk to him quite a bit during his time. So good for him. Very happy for him.
Yeah, I'm happy for him. I hope he gets a chance to play regularly, which, in a very crowded New York City midfield, it became hard. And even though sometimes, he took one for the team and played out of position as a central defender, trying to do things that maybe weren't suited for him, but helping the team out as best as he could. Total team player, and we absolutely wish him the best.
So Miles Robinson goes to Cincinnati, but then Brandon Vasquez, the report is he may be going to Monterrey. I don't know if that deal is done yet. And the other ones that stand out to me, Roberto, and Zach Steffen leaving Europe in Manchester City, in essence, to come back to MLS or come back to the States and play in MLS for Colorado.
Colorado making a lot of moves, because not only do they get him, but they got Georgi Mihailovic as well, who was out of favor in AZ Alkmaar. He played a year there. He was starting a lot, but I guess at some point he'd lost favor with the coach, and they basically told him that he wasn't, going to preseason, not preseason, but mid-season training, because they have a break. And the team went off. They left him behind, and I guess that's because he was getting traded. So he's back in the U.S. So it's weird, right? Because here's a guy who's been a U.S. national team player, maybe a little bit fringe out national team player, but still. And you would hope that maybe he would try to stick it out in Europe. But then we always have this thing that we talk about, right? Is it better to be a bench player in Europe than it is a starter in MLS? And I guess he made the decision that it's better to be a starter in MLS. And Colorado trying to retool, being, one of the worst teams in the league last year. And so, they've got him. Who else did they bring in? They brought in a couple of different people. So
I just most recently Steffen and Mihailovic.
Right.
Then some of the others, Roberto, I can't remember who else they brought in, but they are the lowest spending team in MLS too, most years, or right near the bottom. LAFC, Hugo Lloris, which is really wild, on a $350,000 salary. That's pretty incredible. And he's been at it.
He had fallen out of favor in Spurs, as he was basically iced out in Spurs. He wasn't going to play there anymore. So he was looking for a different opportunity. Obviously, he's not going to make the $6 million or $8 million a year that he was making over there. He comes to the States where he's going to be able to play regularly. And I guess part of the reason that this deal was done is because Maxime Crepeau, who is a fantastic goalkeeper, okay? And you can basically, put him up there with a Carlos Velas and everybody else on the team, is one of the major contributors to a team winning a championship and then at the same time making it to MLS Cup again, was the fact that he played as well as he did. But for what I hear, he was asking for a major, major raise, and LAFC wasn't about to give it to him. So they get Hugo Lloris, who maybe isn't as good as Hugo Lloris was maybe 2-3 years ago at 37 years old. But, goalies can play very well into their upper 30s, and if not more.
Well, here's what you know about him. He played in the 2018 World Cup and the 2022 World Cup. They won one of them, and they were in the finals in the other. And most capped player in French history. And I think that's a wonderful pickup for LAFC, knowing that they weren't going to be able to keep Crepeau. Tejan Buchanan, first Canadian to play in Serie A. He's at Inter Milan. He didn't leave from MLS, but we know him and what he did up at New England during his time here out of Syracuse University. And then a couple of coaching things, Roberto. Bogert, I believe it's Bogert, reporting that Laurent Courtois is going to be named the CF Montreal coach.
Yes.
And you mentioned we talked about a couple of goalkeepers there. And Patrick Schulte, he played under Courtois on the 2 team, and then Schulte pushed Aloy Room right out of the room this year for Columbus. And Mo Farsi got a lot of time, Jason Russell-Rowe, and they all played under Courtois on the Crew 2 team that won the MLS Next Pro Championship, the inaugural one back in 22. and they were in the finals, I think, this year. So I've actually talked to him at length just on my show on Sirius XM. I happened to speak to him, and the one thing that always sticks out to me, I liked him because he really got it. You know, what his purpose was on that 2 team is to develop players for the first team, which he did. But he said New York City FC, their 2 team under Matt Pilkington, should have been the team of the year this year, even though they didn't make the playoffs, because they play their 15 and 16-year-olds, which he says this is what we're supposed to be doing, get these young kids experience. So I do remember him saying that, you know. And then Troy Lesane.
And it's important. I agree.
Troy Lesane is at DC United. How about that?
Yeah, Bruce Arena wanted the job, but based on other things that I've heard as well, is that Bruce may have priced himself out of the possibility. I'm sure Troy Lesane gets in there a little bit cheaper than Bruce does.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, yeah.
I'll tell you, the referees aren't.
I don't want to say anything bad about Troy Lesane because I have nothing bad to say about him, and I don't want the comparison to sound bad. Okay, but if you have a chance to get Bruce Arena, right, and you don't, right? Bruce Arena is a freaking legend. He won, was it 3 titles at DC? In the first basically almost 4 years, right? It was they were the team to beat. They've been a great team wherever he's been. He's made teams better, no doubt. What does it say about DC United wanting to win and invest in that franchise? The fact that you've got an opportunity to bring somebody like him back and don't do it. And there's nothing to do with Troy. It's just really about Bruce. And that's what I meant to say about, I don't mean to demean anything that Troy's done. And, you know, hopefully he has a long and successful career in DC and in MLS and Europe or wherever else he wants to go. But what does it say about that team? I mean, are they ever going to really pull the trigger and become the DC United that began in MLS in 1996, where they were the team to emulate in this league?
By Troy Lesane, look, I followed him when he was at New Mexico United, and he was a popular figure there, did a great job there in the USL Championship. But the referees have a difficult time with him. If I'm not mistaken, he sat out a game this year. He was one of the that guy Heinze from when he was with Atlanta. I don't remember. He wasn't on the in the technical area for a New York City match because he had a yellow card suspension. You get 3 yellow cards and you're out as a coach. Well, Lesane, I think, got one of those this year, and he is. And we see enough referees on the road, so and you can tell when you look at somebody in their right in their eyes. And we always ask the referees, who's the biggest pain in the ass in the league? Sometimes they tell us, sometimes they don't. But it's interesting to hear. And it's
always a good conversation. We get some good laughs out of that.
Yeah. Well, Troy Lesane might be awarded the trophy for pain in the arse, but I think he's from
maybe that will sell tickets in DC. Who knows?
I don't know. And
go see Benteke and Lesane.
Yeah. And I guess just to wrap it up, Roberto, and first of all, I want to say it's wonderful to have you back. You do look great. So if you look at the mirror and you don't like the way you look, then you need to get another mirror because you look great, man. And I think that I just wanted to mention Gotham FC because here's a club that won a title, and they're bringing in boatloads of good players, starting with Crystal Dunn and now Tierna Davidson, who her name might not resonate as much with people who don't follow it closely, but she is an excellent central defender. Probably, if she were healthy, would have started at this past World Cup for the women and might have made a difference. She is a top-of-the-line central defender. Dunn, she's returning home. Interesting story with her. She played for Paul Riley at Albertson. She was on that club team, Albertson Fury, and Riley, who has been suspended for life due to some, I don't know how to classify it other than just absolute
inappropriate moments with players.
Yeah, so it's
how's that?
Yeah, and I do know that Gotham. I don't know if this will publish, but they've got a couple more players coming in. I don't know who they are, But they're
Well, the Athletic had reported a couple of players. Now I'm trying to remember who they were, but they were like first team national team players. I can't remember right now the names, and I can picture them. The girl who has the socks all the way up. She's like one of the best in the world. Oh my God, I can't remember. I'm blanking right now. I'm blaming my meds.
Rose Lavelle?
Yes, Rose Lavelle was one of them. Thank you.
Rose Lavelle. And then let's see, who put it out there?
Meg Linehan, of course, because Meg puts everything out when she's not skiing now in New Hampshire or Maine or wherever she moved to. She used to be my neighbor up here in Washington Heights, Inwood, actually.
All right. Well,
she moved closer to the mountains so she can ski.
That's nice. Well, I can't see the other one, and
I can't see either, but it's a national team player as well. I mean, big deal. People should get tickets to see Gotham FC this year. I mean, when you see like in LAFC, Angel City get 20,000 people, and San Diego get over 20,000 people, with the team that Yael Auerbach is putting out there and putting together over here at Red Bull Arena. People should turn out in droves. That is going to be an absolute fun team to watch. I managed to get out to a couple of games a year. I want to do more. And I think people should really, really look into investing into getting season tickets.
Just to wrap this up, Tierna Davidson said it all. And Juan Carlos Amoros, who I've had 3 discussions with, I've gone to their training sessions. He's been on my SiriusXM show. Just really an unbelievable coach. And I think you saw it. But he develops players. He develops teams. Tierna Davidson said something about their style, and she said that right at the top, that's one of the main reasons that she's coming as a free agent to Gotham is because of the way they play. What a statement that is. And the fact that these players are coming in and they have to stay within a certain budget limitation too. Some of these players probably could get more money elsewhere, but they're coming to Gotham because they've got a coach that's going to make them better. And I think that's
absolutely.
I think that's a pretty large statement. Roberto, great to see you. Thanks so much to Kevin O'Toole, who was on at the top of the broadcast with us, talking NYCFC and left back and wing back and Princeton and New Jersey. That's what can I tell you. So for Roberto Abramowitz, I'm Glenn Crooks on NYCFC Views.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast NYCFC Views on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.